this video. When you spin up the new EC2 instance, you would have noticed that initially the instance state is pending, and gradually after some time the state changes to running without any user interaction or intervention. And similar behavior is seen when we stop, start or terminate the instance. However, there is also an option to manually refresh to check the instance state, but here we are not talking about that option. So how does the instance state change happens automatically? So here I want you guys to pause this video for a while and think about it. The initial answer is that it is using some sort of polling technique. So in this video, we are going to explore and check what kind of polling technique is used for checking and updating the state of an EC2 instance. Is it a short polling or a long polling? So let's find out. Before we move on, if you want to learn about what is short polling versus long polling, then please refer to the video I have posted on that topic, and the link is in the video description. So now, to understand more about it, let's go ahead and spin up an EC2 instance. So navigate to EC2 Management Console, click on Launch Instance. We will provide the server name. I will say instance_state. Within application and OS, I will select Ubuntu. Within instance type, I will select, let's say T3.2x large. Within key pair, I will select proceed without a key pair, because here we are not going to SSH or log in into this instance. We just want to understand how the instance state changes and which technique basically it is using. Within network settings, I will select existing security group, and from the drop down I will select the default security group. And I think we are all done with the configuration of the EC2 instance. So now let's click on launch instance. So the instance was in pending state, and now as you can see it is in running state. So here we are going to monitor the network tab to understand the request response pattern and how instance state will get updated. So let's right click and click on inspect. Click on network. Under network tab, we can see so many requests, but we are not interested in all of them. So we are going to filter it by a string. So let me try to refresh this. And here, if you look at this request, right? So let's click on headers. So here we have the request URL that is us2 console aws amazon.com/ec2 and so on. So here we are interested in the URL that looks something like this. So we will be filtering the events under network tab by call equal to com.amazonaws.ec2.amazon.ec2. Okay, because we are interested in this. So let me copy this. So here I am not copying the whole query string parameter. So here I am simply copying till Amazon EC2, because this will change. Describe instances will be changed. So let's click on filter and paste it over here. So here we can see there are two requests that has been sent, right? So one is describe addresses and one is describe instances. So let's say if I select this instance, so as soon as I selected this instance, there are a couple of requests that has been sent to fetch different information, because as soon as we select any of the instance, we will be able to see the details, security, networking, storage, status checks, and all that information. Now to pull that information, it has to make an API call to different endpoints. So here if you look at the request, then first is describe instances, then we have describe addresses, then describe network interfaces, describe classic link instances, and so on, correct? So this is how it will make a request to the server to pull or fetch this information. Now let me clear this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this instance and then I'm going to stop this instance. So I will click on instance state and I will say stop instance. Stop. So now as soon as I clicked on stop, it made a call to the server with the query string parameter that says call equal to com.amazonaws.ec2.amazon.ec2.stop instances. Okay, so this is the request URL that it is hitting, and the method is post. Now if we look at the payload, then within the payload it has passed the instance ID which needs to be stopped. And within response, we received some response, right? That currently it is in stopping state and so on. And then subsequently it made another call after some time. It says describe instances and the payload is again the instance ID. And here we got some response. So similarly, it is making periodic request to the server which says describe instances and the payload is the instance ID. Okay, and then here we are getting some response. So now let's have a look at the response of the first describe instances after stopping the instance. So I selected that one. Let me copy this response. I will paste it over here. So this is the JSON formatter. I will click on format beautify. Okay. And then we are going to compare the response that we are getting from different calls. Okay. So this is the first call to the describe instance. So let me copy this and paste it over here. Now we will go back. We will select the subsequent call, which is the describe instances, and within payload it's the instance ID, and here we have some response. So let me copy this. Let me prettify it, format. I will copy it again and paste it over here just to compare both the responses. Now what has changed here? The request ID has changed. Apart from that, nothing has changed, right? So if we look at the state of an instance, so it says state, that is code 64, and the name is stopping, and the instance is in stopping state. As a next step, let's have a look at the subsequent request. Let's copy the response that we have received. Let me paste it over here, format. I will copy it and I will replace the text, and here we are able to see that only request ID is changed. Rest of the payload or rest of the parameters are as it is, and the instance is in stopping state. So what it is doing is it is making periodic request to the server to fetch the state of an instance. So here again, if I do command F and search for stopping, then this is in stopping state. Similarly, for the subsequent request, if I search for stopping, then it is in stopping state. Okay, so all this request has written that it is in stopping state. Now if we look at the very last request that has been made, if we search for stopping, then we will not be able to find that, because now once it receives that the instance is in stop state, it will stop sending the request to the server to check the state of an instance. So now if I copy this, let me prettify. I will copy this again and then I will compare it with the existing response. Then here the request ID is changed. Okay. Then here some state has been changed with respect to the metadata option. Under network interfaces, the public IP has been detached from that particular instance because it is in stop state, and we have not assigned the elastic IP, right? So that is where it has detached the public IP after stopping the instance. The public DNS name is removed. And similarly, if we look at the state, then now it says code 80 and the state is stopped. Earlier it was in stopping state. So what exactly happened here is that whenever you make a request to start, stop, or terminate the instance, the front end or the browser, whatever you want to call it, is periodically sending a request to the server to get the latest data about the instance state by calling the describe instances. Okay, so by calling this describe instances, and in case the server does not have the updated or new data, then it will send the same data with the updated request ID, and that's what we saw. For all this request from second to second last, only the request ID is changed, else the response that we have received is same. Okay, and finally, when it received the state as stopped, it basically stopped sending the request to the server. So what happened here is that it made a periodic request to the server to pull the instance state of the particular instance ID which is passed as a payload. So now based on this API request response pattern that we observed, it seems that EC2 is using the short polling technique to check the instance state and then it updates the same. Now let's quickly look at the other example as well. So now I'm going to select this instance and then I'm going to start it. So what it did first, the first request that it made is to the start instances, which instance we need to start. So it will be mentioned as a part of the payload, that is the instance ID. Then subsequently it started making a call to the describe instances. So first call it made to the describe instances, which instance we want to describe. So this instance we want to describe, that is the instance ID. And now if we look at the response, let me prettify it. And here, if we look at the state, so it says it is in pending state. That is where still the instance was not in running state. It made another call after some time to the describe instances. And then as a part of the response, it basically received that now the instance is in running state. So let's have a look. So if you can see the state, then it says it is in running state. And once it achieved the target state, that is the running state, it stopped making a request to the server. So guys, this is how the short polling is used to get the instance state or to update the instance state from source to the destination, from pending to running, or from stopped to running state, or from running state to the terminated state, and so on. Now here you might ask that can long polling be an option? Well, it could be. So long polling needs to be implemented on the server side, and when the client sends the request to the server as a part of the long polling pattern, the server will hold the connection open if the new data is not available. So hypothetically, the server has to run a loop to check the instance state internally and then return the result once it is updated. So someone has to run the loop to do the checks here. So whether it could be a client or it could be a server. So here everything depends on the use case, that which method, which polling technique to be used. So you have to weigh in pros and cons of both the techniques, and depending on the use case, the decision has to be made. So guys, I hope you learned something new today and I hope you found it helpful. So that's all guys that I wanted to cover as a part of this video. And as usual, if you want me to do tutorial on any use case or service, then please leave them below and I will try my best to come up with the tutorial as soon as possible. And if you have any queries or comments, then again please leave them below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and see you next time.